Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. I am your host, Kareem Bowen, for this next hour of content and conversation. I like the way that sounds. We are in the studio. I got a guest in the studio with me today, none other than Antonio Brooks. We're going to talk a little bit about civilized felon, what that is, what it means, and we're going to have a conversation about expungement. So if you got felonies and things of that nature, that's what we're going to be talking about today. For our main conversation, I want to welcome to the studio, Antonio Brooks. What's good, my man?
What's up, brother? Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
All right. And also, always, we got my main man in the studio. His mama calls him White, calls him Matthew. I call him White. So what's going on, Matthew?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
Good. How you like that name, White?
Sure.
Every producer that I produce with has, I give them a name and put their signature handle on there. So Matthew is now White. So good to have
I like it. I like it.
You like it. All right, my man. All right. So we are going to be talking about a number of things that I think that are extremely important for us to really digest and to take in. But what's on my mind? We always start each show with talking about what's on my mind. And I want to continue with that vein of conversation on today. I'm trying to figure out how I want to start this, but let's do this. Let's talk about today in Black history. There is an interesting Black history fact. You know, I think that Black history should be 365. I live my life 365 Black, and that's how I like my history. On this day in Black history, September 17th, 1849, the great Harriet Tubman, who was born under the name Armida Ross, escaped slavery from the Poplar Neck Plantation in Maryland with her brothers Ben and Harry. Shortly afterwards, I didn't understand this, but hey, I get it. Sometimes we get free from our pharaohs and we got to let our pharaoh go. Shortly after, her brothers changed their minds about the escape and returned to the plantation with Harriet. I don't get that, but we also know the story did not end there. She eventually did escape and help others to their freedom. So that is our Black history in today, this day in Black history. Now, I got to get this, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack from a lot of people about this next conversation I am about to have. But, you know, I'm grown, and so I don't mind. I can handle it. Good evening to all of those who are out there. Let's like, tag, and share this conversation. Let's get our families together so that we can get this thing going. All right. So what I want to talk about here today is that we, and someone shot this to me, not knowing that this was already something that I was going to share again. Probably, man, it's probably been a little bit over a month ago. I made a social media post about Beyonce's Renaissance tour. And I just, said some very clear facts. And I don't care who gets offended when it's the truth. The truth will first make you mad, but then it'll set you free. But I was sharing with you all just the fact that, you know, Beyonce was paying homage to these gods. And at that time, I think I was talking about some of the imagery she put forth with the yellow dress, and she was paying homage to the goddess Oshun. There also is another goddess by the name of Hawthorne, a goddess of by the title Hawthorne. That she is also, you've seen the horns that she's had on her head. Actually, in that video, there is another god by the name, and these are not big letter God, but G letter God, small g. There's a god by the name of Pan, which is where we get the word pandemic from. And that god is a wild, lascivious God who likes power and just likes to express himself. Which, if we get into the conversation about the Renaissance tour and the purpose of the Renaissance tour, that God Pan makes a lot of sense that he would be a great influence on that particular cycle. So y'all can let the Beyonce haters, those of you who are out there, if you're here when you hear it, go for it. But the fact of the matter is this. Fans have been making some complaints. I got it in an email just after I had completed, actually a text message, just after I had completed my runner show. I got the same, so I said, okay, I'm going to share. I had already planned to, so I'm going to talk about it. Fans that have been attending this Renaissance tour, which is over the top. When you see what she and Taylor Swift are doing in terms of their stage design, absolutely ridiculous. And I guess that's why when you put on a show the way that they have, you should make $1 billion off of touring, because these are not just stage, mic, couple steps up to the platform. These are a whole experience. So I as I said to you before, I think she is the greatest entertainer today that is currently alive on this planet. And I say that even with Tina Turner. Take us back a couple of months with Tina Turner having been here. She is one of the best entertainers of all time, bar Michael Jackson. I think Mike is number one, and Beyonce number two. I got anybody else with any other opinions? Matt, what you think?
I mean, weren't there people literally fainting at Michael Jackson's concert? Like,
Absolutely.
weren't there people fainting in the crowds and like, whew, just passing out?
What they was like? What, Matt? What was that again? They were like,
Just a whew.
Yes, people literally fainted with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was otherworldly. I've seen him go in to malls in other countries, and I've had this experience. Michael would go into malls in other countries, and when he would go into those malls, within minutes, you would literally have tens of thousands of people shutting down the malls. And in China, wow, it is ridiculous how many people. I think one they said like 70,000 people showed up after they found out that he was there. We were doing a commercial in China with Peak Shoes, and I didn't realize that American athletes were so big, but we were in there, and when Jason Richardson was doing, he went into one of the what are they called? What are the shoe stores called?
I know there's Champion, Finish Line, Foot Locker.
Foot Locker. In a Foot Locker, 15 minutes signing some autographs. It was just supposed to be an autograph signing over there. Literally, we had to end it because there was probably about 10,000 people who were coming in, and Jason Richardson, just crazy, literally escaping down as the crowds are coming, because it can be dangerous. So Michael Jackson is otherworldly. He was shutting stuff down. But Beyonce, what I wanted to say is our fans are reporting, I'm part of the Beehive. We got you, Jeffrey Bulls. Just don't sting me. Okay, we good as long as you don't sting me. But they're reporting that, bouts of amnesia and having different things that are going on after being in this. Now somebody might say, well, because of the information or the stimulus to your brain overload, because there are screens moving, there's lights going off, dancers flicker. So that could be one thing. But as I said to you all before, we have to be a little bit more discerning in terms of the types of things that we allow to take and have exposure in our lives. Tiffany Peterson Feather said Prince had an amazing show too. Now Prince, I don't think that he is on the stage on the same level as a Michael Jackson when we talk about entertainment. But he is my absolute favorite entertainer of all time. If we're going to be talking about music, especially from the 80s, he is one of the greatest. All right, so let's continue that. So I just wanted to bring it to you. This is what the world is saying. Fans are complaining with bouts of amnesia. Call it what you want. Factor it up to what you want. But at least equip yourself with the facts, all right? Next thing I want to talk about is election 2024. Matt, you're going to be able to vote for the first time this year, correct?
Yes, when I register.
Okay. When are you planning on doing this, Matt? We don't have all day. You got to get registered, my man.
Well, I just need to schedule the Secretary of State appointment.
Okay, so we got to make sure that you get registered. So election 2024, Biden versus Trump. That appears to be the makeup of this thing. Antonio, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Antonio?
Can we get some better candidates?
That's my question. And go ahead, Matt.
One thing that I've been hearing a lot is, what if it's not Joe Biden and Trump? Like, what if it's two other candidates? Then what are we going to do?
I mean, who would it be?
I don't even know. To be honest, I don't really follow politics that much, but a lot of things that I've been hearing is like, oh, Trump versus Biden. Well, what if it's not Trump versus Biden? What if there's two other people, or if it's Biden versus somebody else, or if it's Trump versus somebody else?
Well, this is the thing about that and how the political scene runs out for president. We still have time, because if we were to think back and we would look at when President Barack Obama, he came to the scene at one of the conventions. He gave an impassioned speech, and people was like, wow, who is this guy? And shortly thereafter, he becomes a leading candidate for a political office. However, our nation runs on political machines that we call political parties. And if you are right now, there's nothing else being talked about. No one else is being seen. I think that if we're going to do something, we got to shake up the system right now. Jeffrey Bulls, he's giving that shout out. Vote for Pam Pugh in 2024, who's running for the U.S. Congress as a senator here, filling in that position for our Debbie Stabenow, who's leaving office. Hurley T.J. Coleman, not confident with our candidates. We need new leadership. Let's talk about that, because that's what I want to talk about.
Yes.
We hear this being said. We need new leadership. Now I'm going to tell you, I'm not too keen on Joe Biden. I didn't. He was the candidate that I had to vote for. I felt like my hands were handcuffed. I don't believe in not voting. I was not going to sign in Donald Duck when the country's future and present was at stake, when democracy was on the line. So I voted for the candidate that best represented my ideals at that time. He is not my favorite. I don't see, I know, is it the AKAs probably love Kamala Harris. She would not have been my choice for president either, considering her record and of prosecution. So Auntie Kamala, if Joe Biden were to become president again and he lose the election, we got Auntie Kamala out there with her. Well, I'm gonna leave it alone. I was about to be too straight. Too much truth. Anyways, Jeffrey, black people need to know what we value, regardless of candidate. When you know your values, it drives your vote. That's absolutely true, but there has to be someone in that voting pool that matches our values that we can vote for. Exactly. And so the question that I want to ask somebody, I need to ask somebody, what are we going to do? When we look at where we are, this is really, I mean, we look at American politics today. Joe Biden is 80 years old. He'll be 80 years old. Donald Trump is only 3 years younger. But doesn't it seem like they're like 20 years apart? Is it just me, or does Donald Trump seem a lot younger?
Kind of, compared to him.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of movement, mobility, just, I know he got that spray on orange tan, and, he'll put that blonde dye in and swoop it to the right to cover that comb over whenever it's necessary. But he just looks a lot younger. But we look at this. My guy has 4 criminal cases amounting to 74 felony accounts against him. I guess maybe we needed to talk about this, as we're going to talk about civilized felon. He would be the iconic poster child for civilized felon. Twice impeached as a president. And, the Republicans are really trying hard to pull Joe Biden, President Biden, into his son's dealings, Hunter Biden, with the situation on bribery, extortion, and funds, and all these other things, stating that, hey, he had to know. I could tell you right now that if something were to happen with me, and there were a number of felony charges that I had to go to court for, my mother, my brother, my uncles, they would never know what my business is. You know what I mean? Yeah. They see me work, they see me do things, they see a check, but they have no clue in terms of what the inner workings of so I don't know what to do with that. But it's an issue. And then so what do we do about a real presidential candidate? Will we have someone, because we haven't in a while. Somebody said it's the toupee. Will we have a candidate that we can truly back? If not, where do we get this person? And what do we do? Go ahead, Matt.
The one thing that I'd like to say is before you make a vote, look at the facts first. Don't vote on like who you think. Actually go and do your research, and like both political parties or both political candidates, like do your research before you vote.
I love Matt. Let me tell you why I love Matt. Let me tell you, this is about white people. People think I don't like white people when I say certain things. That is absolutely not true. Matt, don't you feel the love whenever we're around each other?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay,
You're my
I
brother.
love Matt. Matt is, I'm taking him under my wings. We're doing a number of things. But I'm going to tell you what I like about Matt. And this is what I like about a lot of my white brothers and sisters. I like my white brothers and sisters when they white. They're unashamedly white. They are who they are. But they think the way that they think. They understand. They take time to understand. They take time to hear. And I love it when we have these issues. So the issue that we're talking about politics here, this is not a black or white issue. This is an issue that affects all of America. And so we got to figure out what we're going to do with this. Some of y'all gonna get offended by what I said because you don't know how to laugh at yourself. But those who know understand exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I want to talk about something that took place. It was interesting because we heard the commercial coming on when we were coming into the studio today. Man up the return. All of these other two brothers are in the studio with me. My producer Matt, he was there in attendance, as well as his brother sitting across the table who participated in the panel, the Man Up Return, that was put together by Hurley Coleman and Brian Pruitt. I was pulled into this because Man Up is my thing that I created. But Charles Allen, and I'm going to tell y'all, Charles, since American Idol, dude, you have grown tremendously. He did original music, and I wasn't sure what he was going to say, but dude has, you got an amazing voice. An amazing talent. He was singing them songs. One song sounded like I was born by the river. Yeah, who is that?
Oh man, I forgot.
A change gonna come. Is that what? Yeah. Dude was singing and killing it. So Charles, I don't know if you're gonna hear this. If y'all know Charles, if he one of your play cousins or whoever in the community, let him know that he was on fire. Kevin Jordan, we see I would never vote for Trump, morally unqualified. Otis Redding. Thank you. I think it's Otis Redding. Sam Cooke. Dude sounded like Sam Cooke. It was absolutely amazing. We started off that there were bounce houses, food trucks, game trucks for the young people. They were giving away free haircuts. A couple of brothers went in like, man, there's too many people in line for the free haircuts. But the brothers were coming in, getting them ends crispy, looking good. Started off with a motivational word after the song by Charles, by Brian Pruitt. And I'm going to say this about Brian. Many of you, Brian operates in a very different space than most inner city spaces. I'll say that. But if you're looking for someone who can really impact and someone who I think is one of our great speakers of today, that brother, he knows how to capture an audience. He is so inspirational. You're absolutely right, Tiffany. He is so inspirational. Some of his speech, because Brian and I toured doing the Man Up Forum from 2005 to about 2011. And some of the stories I've heard before, but when he tells them every single time, he always gets me to the edge of my seat. You can hear a pin drop when he's speaking, and he is absolutely phenomenal. You guys were there. What were your thoughts about his impassioned speech on yesterday, talking to those men about forgiveness, about identity and understanding who you were? What were your thoughts?
Man, I was blew back because Brian Pruitt, if you just look at him, you wouldn't expect.
He comes, hey, Bowen, how are you doing, Bowen?
You wouldn't expect that voice coming out of him. And then, but when he's telling the story, it's like he just building you up. And then he just, that alley-oop, he just and come through and slam dunk it. Like that story about his dad, man, that got me. I think people was trying to cry.
But this is the thing. Low key, they weren't crying. It was misty in the room. It was misty. It was misty in the room. Matt, what did you think as a young man? What were your thoughts hearing him speak on yesterday?
I can't talk right now. A lot of the things that he talked about hit me like right in the heart. So like I'll admit, when I was sitting there in the auditorium, I started to cry. Like I was tearing up. Like he's an amazing speaker. Like a lot of the things that he was saying hit me close to home.
It is so interesting. And we have, Sharice still feels say y'all allergies were acting up. A lot of brothers had allergies yesterday. It was serious. But I'll tell you this. He and I have worked in tandem for a long time. And I've been telling people in the community, we need to bring him into our spaces, into the community that looks like him, that really needs the motivation and the encouragement that he is able to provide. And so I was so glad that we were able to have that event on yesterday. But we had traveled for so long having these conversations, and I would always follow up with a panel where we would lead our brothers into real deep conversations. And Brian challenged us on yesterday to take a deep look and to have a conversation about our identity as men. What does it mean to be a man? Which led us to conversations on, our role in the community today. Are we under attack? We talked about masculinity. We had talked about the importance of being a better man than what we inherited from the men before us. Having Curly, TJ Coleman, we had life-changing experiences with men there at the event that actually forgave their fathers. That was, woo! Wow. Men were able to move past some very traumatic experiences. And I don't believe that his talk was recorded. When we do Man Up, and I'll say this, women always want us to record, was it recorded? We refuse. I always refuse to record. And this is why. Getting men to a point that they feel comfortable in the space that they're in, to be honest and have a conversation. I'm going to be very honest. I shared some things regarding fathers and fatherlessness that I experienced personally. Because a lot of times we got to keep grinding, right? Yeah. We got to, we experience it. It happens. We got to get through it, push it aside, because at the end of the day, we still got to make bread. At the end of the day, we still got mouths to feed. At the end of the day, we still have to get up, and the world doesn't stop because we're wounded. And that's what he was talking about. He was talking about
wounded little boys, hurt little boys.
Hurt boys become wounded men. And so whenever we create a space that fosters open and honest conversation for men, I never want to record those conversations because I want those men to feel like they can completely dump, be completely raw. And what we experienced yesterday was raw emotion. And every single time that we've ever done the Man Up Forum, no matter where we were, what group of men we were talking about, what nationality of men we were talking to, yesterday's experience and the results that we saw on Saturday are consistent. Men want to talk. Men want to open up. Men want to be honest. Absolutely. Men want to have a safe space. And you're absolutely right, Jeffrey Bulls. And the Sochi says men definitely wouldn't open up in a recording. Vulnerability is used against us in society. But so I like to protect men. Were you going to say something, Matthew?
Yeah, well, as a man myself, one of the biggest things about opening up is that, like, after you open up to somebody, you feel weaker as a man afterwards. Like, after you open up, you kind of like, oh, well, I don't want that person to sit here and think, oh, well, he's a little punk that he's complaining. He's just like, he can do it. Like, that's a really big part of it. Like, after you open up to somebody, like, personally myself, after I open up, I feel like weaker inside.
That's called vulnerability, but go ahead.
So remember we was talking about masculinity.
Yes.
That's one of the largest components of masculinity to me. Being able to be vulnerable and open up no matter what somebody else thinks. You know what I mean?
The strongest man on the planet needs to have a place where he can feel weak.
Yeah.
And open up and disarm himself. And so that's what you were talking about, man. You were talking about the importance of being when you are vulnerable in a situation, you are putting your guards down. You in that moment, you are accepting the fact that I'm going to move forward by allowing myself to be weak in this moment. And I think that the real test and courage of any man is when you can crush someone like a lion, but you allow yourself to be vulnerable and gentle as a dove. And that is what we see in those spaces. And so I want to go shout out to Hurley. I always call my man TJ Coleman III. His government man is Hurley Coleman III. His business name when he's contracting business and doing great things, he is the CEO or the executive director over at CAC. They were one of the sponsors for this event. I love you, brother. I love the fact that you guys are doing this work in the community. Many people don't realize that creating a safe space for men to talk, to hear wisdom, to share wisdom, and to get advice from other men, to hear how other men are coping, and understanding that, listen, I'm not the only one that's broken, but keep on rolling on the inside, is a vital piece of building each and every community. And so since we're talking often here at Straight Talk about rebuilding the walls of the village, it's important for us to have these very important conversations. So shout out to everyone that was involved. This was at Ralph Martin. I saw Ralph Martin, and I read something, who's one of the community leaders, former fire chief or inspector here in Saginaw, now works for the state in the same capacity. He was talking about how this was such a powerful event, and he wished that all of our men in the city of Saginaw could be there. Well, I want to change directions, because we're going to talk about how we are going to continue to create those safe spaces. In building out this event, we've talked about help a little bit, and some people are probably like, why are we talking about the men? Because our men need it. If you look at the statistics, our Black women crushing it. Black girl magic is in full effect. When we look at the number of CEO promotions that were taking place, we're looking at graduation rates from both high school and college. Our Black women are doing it. Queens, 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 we celebrate you. We thank you for being amazing and beautiful and doing what you do well. But the issue now becomes, who will our Black women marry? And I think it's important for us to continue the legacy of the deep tones in our skin, the full lips, the wide nose, the curves in hair. I love my people. And that becomes such an important part of who we are. And so we got to begin to work with these men, these young boys, these men, on establishing their character and identity. So we're going to be meeting on help. I was going to talk about this, but there's an organization that, we pulled together some brothers, and this is just everyday G's. This is brothers that walk the street who want to see something different in our community coming together. So we are going to have our first all men session. So if you are a man and you're one of the men out there that says, "Oh, I want to be down," or someone says, "Hey, I'm going to call you," and they haven't called you, we're calling you right now. This is your clarion call to action. All positively charged men. We will be meeting this Wednesday at 6 p.m. at New Beginnings Deliverance Ministry. There's a youth teen space in the back. We're getting all of the men together. That's this Wednesday at 2602 East Genesee. We will be posting a flyer that says the same. And we're going to be talking about what's going down in our community. So every positively charged man, if you want to be involved in making our community a better place, we had another 22-year-old brother, another king, who lost his life just recently. I don't know the young man, but people say he's a good kid. But what is a good kid these days? So we've got to get into these spaces, and we've got to make some some clear decisions on what is a good kid, and making sure that our good kids are protected, so that their blood is not screaming from the streets for violence to be curbed in our community. So that's Wednesday at 6 p.m. That's this coming Wednesday at 6 p.m. New Beginnings Deliverance Ministry. We wanted to do it right in the heart of the city, 2602 East Genesee. We certainly want to thank Pastor Roy Baldwin for opening up his doors. He has always been a community guy, and he gave word, hey, anything that is going to be community-based and going to better our community, I'm there for it. All right, so that is this coming Wednesday. Now, mark your calendars. We need all boys and young men. I said 12. We'll even take 11 years old if you having some issues with them. We're going to make a judgment call on that. 12 years and older on Saturday, September 30th. That's not this Saturday, but it's a week from this Saturday. Saturday, September 30th. We want all of our young boys. We're going to come. So if you're all of them. What I love about this brother across from me, Tone, you're running into brothers at gas stations.
I snatch them off the streets, man. I snatch them out. If I see them and I see a little bit of myself in them, or if I just see something in them, I don't care if I ain't never seen them in my life. I ask them.
And so, no, this is not the first. So on several occasions, I'm getting phone calls from people he done met in the street. Like, yeah, you need to talk to my brother. Everybody in the world got the number, so I'm not tripping. But you brought some of those young men with you. And those young men who you swooped up, was it at a gas station as well?
At a gas station, then them other two, I seen them on the street, just walking down the street.
All right. And so he brought them into the event that we were doing for Man Up. What was their thoughts about what took place with Man Up?
They loved it.
Really?
They loved it, man, because, man, listen, these kids, all they need is a man to care, to show them that I see you, I come from where you come from, I know what you're going through, and they get comfortable, they talk, and then they get vulnerable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
People ask me this question all the time. They say, you know what, how do you work with young men? How do you get young people to engage in conversation? You know, how do you get these young men and young women to talk? We talk to them.
Yeah.
We talk to them. You ask them questions. You listen to what they have to say. And the thing that I've learned is that they want to have a conversation. They want to talk. But the problem is we often talk at them instead of have conversations with them. And that's very important for us to do. So once again, all boys, all young men, 12 years and older, if they're 11 years and they almost 12, bring them. We're going to have all of these young men on September 30th. Now, we're going to do this in two groups. We're going to have the 11 to 14-year-olds, 12 to 14-year-olds. They're going to show up at 10 a.m. We're going to have them for 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. We're going to take an hour in the middle of the bit to regroup and to have lunch. And then we're going to be meeting with the 15 years and older. I don't care if you're 18, 19, 20. If you got a 25-year-old son and dude is not on the right path, let him come at that time. Because we're going to have men of all walks of life who have a positive outlook on life, who have been through a storm, coming out of a storm, or experienced a storm at some point in their life, to have some conversations with these boys and young men. So ages 11 to 14, 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Ages 15 and older, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Saturday, September 30th. We're going to put this flyer out there. It's being developed and made so that you can get your kids involved. I see you, my brother T. Reed. He says, looking forward to this journey. And that's a great way to look at this. This is not an event. This is not for fun. But
no bounce houses, no haircuts.
No bounce houses, no haircut. This is for the fruit of our loins. This is for our lives. This is to rebuild our community. And so we're going to do it. I say that nobody's going to swoop into our communities with the nets on the chest to solve the issues, to deal with what we're talking about. We got to do it. And the way that we do it and how we do it is one young man at a time. Once again, that's going to be Saturday, September 30th. That's all boys. We'll say 11 and older. 11 to 14 is going to be from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Young men 15 and older, I don't care. If you're 99 and you need some help, you need to come on. If you want to be involved, make sure that you're at that meeting on this coming Wednesday at 6 p.m. at New Beginnings Deliverance Ministry. And then we're going to meet with them on the 30th at New Beginning Deliverance Ministry. They have a great space for us to be able to meet. And, we're going to eat. We're going to have some conversations. We're going to get to the root of the matter. But we're going to listen to what our young men have to say. Absolutely. This is what we call kingdom work. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I got to announce the lady of the hour, my dear heart, my mentor, my friend, my second mother like no other, Jackie Wade Day. There's a special announcement I want to share with her when we come back with more Straight Talk.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
Let's go, Mid-Michigan. Ryan Wassick here from Bell Wassick GMC Buick, your only local Buick dealer and home of the lifetime warranty. Summer's been a bit slow, but I'm not going to wait for things to pick back up. I'm going to do something about it right now. So if you've got the blues because you're driving a car you hate, don't wait. Accelerate. It's time to hit the gas in a car you love because my team's got the speed to handle any situation. Don't have enough for a down payment? Don't wait. Accelerate. Still making payments? Don't wait. Accelerate. Credit a little low? Don't wait. Accelerate. No matter what you've got going on, we're hitting the gas to help get you approved fast. We work harder to make car buying easy and fast. So if your car's a bummer, don't wait, accelerate. rate and get a nicer, newer one right now. I ain't waiting around, and neither should you. Heck, you could speed off our lot for just $7 down. But hurry, this deal will zoom away soon. I'm Ryan Wasik, and I'm your dealer for the people and your only local Buick dealer. See all the cars at RyanApproved.com. That's RyanApproved.com.
Credit and $7 down require bank approval. Negative equity may be refinanced. Offer absolutely ends September 30th, 2023.
Get ready to save with Spectrum One. You get Spectrum Internet delivering fast and reliable speeds for $49.99 a month. Free advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced privacy and security. And a free Spectrum mobile line with unlimited talk, text, and data, plus nationwide 5G. Go to spectrum.com/save more and use the Spectrum One savings calculator to see how much you can save today. Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
My name is Dale Pazinski, and this is how I live United. I volunteer with United Way, helping the homeless in my community by teaching computer skills and helping them build a basic resume to save on their very own USB drive. It's huge when somebody says, "Hey man, that job that you helped me apply for, I got it." My name is Dale Pazinski. I help people achieve financial independence. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey, y'all. Here's what happened on the Steve Harvey Morning Show. My dog, Kirk Franklin. Kirk, Kirk, I'm going through enough right now. I can't take another shot. Am I in the video? Just say no.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just think you guys need to tune in.
Boy, if you say I'm your daddy, boy, let me tell you something. I'll beat your black ass. I'm telling you right now. Don't you come up here talking about I'm your damn daddy. Kiss 107.1, simply the best R&B.
It's Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on Kiss 107.1.
Kareem, we're back with more of Straight Talk. I just got to ask somebody the question. Has anyone seen the Kirk Franklin documentary? I heard that it was good. I'm going to be checking it out. Hopefully I'll get a chance to check that out this weekend. But the big announcement that I desire to make is one of my great mentors, and you've heard me talk about her a lot on this show and other platforms, Jackie Wade Day. She has been a major influence in my life. I always call her my second mom. I met her in, I think it was 2000. Man, it's been 23 years. The life of some of these young men who've been cut short. I met her 23 years ago as we were putting together, I think, one of the first basketball camps with Jason Richardson in. And, you know, we had everybody coming in, all of these athletes. My favorite, of course, was Lisa Leslie. She is fine, drink of water, tall. But she came in. We were having these amazing clinics. She is celebrating her 80th birthday. It's a gospel concert celebration. It's taking place November 18th, 2023 at 4 p.m. at the Tabernacle of David Church, wonderful church. That Pastor Larry Neal Trice Jr. has helped to follow in the legacy and grow his father's church and kept it alive. But myself and Colleen Adams will be the host for that event. Now, Miss Day knows everybody under the sun. She, for a long time, was the person who ran the Magic Johnson Foundation. She knows everybody from the owners of the Bonanza Ranch to Tyler Perry, to everybody on the planet. She has been influential in opening doors and spaces for people, especially in gospel music, but in entertainment as well. So happy pre-birthday, Miss Jackie Day. We are so excited. Bishop Neil Robertson, Pastor Larry Trice, Evangelist Esther Smith, Brian Hurst. Brian Hurst is the white dude with all the rhythm that's in the Tyler Perry movies. She made the connection to get him in to those shows. Chris Bird and True Victory, the Shelby Five, the Woodson and the Heirs of Harmony. And there is a surprise special guest. I would like to tell you all who I'm going to see if I can be able to release the surprise special guest. She's in the stream, not today, but maybe right before, the week of, so that, well, maybe not. We don't want to ruin it. But anyways, happy birthday in advance. You deserve it, Miss Day. But now we're going to transition into the conversation that we are here for today. And we're going to talk about something that my brother is doing. He's been putting it together. And what I love about how he is doing this is that he is his own case study. He is his own case study. I want to say this. I'm going to give you guys some statistics. We're going to talk about civilized felons. We're going to talk about expungement of felonies and things of that nature. 3% of the total U.S. adult population is considered or has a felony. 15% as it relates to African-American adults have gone to prison. So 3% of the U.S. total population has gone to prison. 15% of the adult population, African-American adult population, has gone to prison. We make up 12% of that population. That's something serious. In terms of those felony charges, those felony convictions, 8% of all adults have a felony. 33% of all African-American adult populations have a felony. If that doesn't do anything for you, if that doesn't tell you about the disparities that we have and the need for this good work, John Lewis said that we got to get in some good necessary trouble. This is the place to do it. Because if we make up such a small percentage of the population, but we are a third of us, that means a third of black folk, third of the 12% of black folk in this nation all have felonies. I was listening to a radio program, and this older white gentleman came on, and he said he doesn't mind black people becoming actors and lawyers and athletes and getting rich and famous, or even becoming president. He said, but what he will not ever stand for is a nation in which they govern or create the laws that govern us. And he said, and I'm telling you what I was watching, and this is not the heart of all white folks. Don't even say this, okay? But I just got to tell you, because this was a mainstream radio station in Lansing, Michigan, an urban station. He called in with this information. 96.5 is the station that it was on. And he said that his desire is, and he works in the criminal system, that every single one of you people, I'm looking at the black man on the other, the brother on the other side, would have a 6-digit number in place of their names. I don't make these things up. I can't make it up. This is just what happens. So I'm here with today Antonio Brooks, and we're going to talk a little bit about civilized felon. Okay, bro.
Hey, real quick.
Go ahead.
You know why he said that, right?
Why did he say it?
Because slavery is legal once you get that number again.
Hey,
that's the 13th Amendment.
The 13th Amendment abolished slavery in every incident except for incarceration. And I say this as a former employee of the MDOC, Michigan Department of Correction. I didn't work at a prison. I worked at central office where the policy came from. And what I will say to you all that are listening, that don't look for the white suits and the white hats, even though they say that the Klan is making a return. The racism is in the policy. So we saw that with the 14th Amendment, which was talking equal protection under the law. One of the things that we use to become equal, now being used against us to remove the final strands, as we saw affirmative action be removed completely. So now, if they're going to make things happen, it's going to be in the policies. The disparity, the racism is in the politics, in the policies. But go ahead. So I got with me today Antonio Brooks. You have an organization that you're putting together called Civilized Felon. I see you rocking the shirt over here real good. Oh, yeah. What does that mean?
Okay. So I don't know. Well, you can't see it, but so the ski mask and the man with the suit, people always look at it like it's a gangster type of symbol.
Right.
But what it is so like after I got my felony, man, I decided to get myself together and start going to school, work. But when I would go put these applications in and then I have to check that box, it's like I'm in here.
Checking what box? Let's talk about the box. Let's talk about the box. Which box?
Have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Have you ever been convicted of a felony? And that thing, now this is a real question, because what they'll say is, hey, we're hiring on the spot for this job. You geek. Oh, they pay $18.95 an hour, benefits in 90 days. You get excited. You get there, and that little box
little box.
Takes away all of your hopes and your dreams. It asks you the question, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
Yep.
All right, so you were tired of having to check that box.
Well, yeah, I was tired of, but I was checking that box, and I would have the skills for the job.
Right.
I know I'm qualified for it. I'm trained. I got the certification, whatever. But the felony would hinder me from getting that job. Luckily, I've never caught a drug case, so I was able to go to school and get like financial aid. Because if you have financial aid, you couldn't have a drug case, or they wouldn't let you get it.
Now, are y'all hearing what my brother is saying? He's speaking from experience. If we are trying to turn our lives around and you have a drug case, then you are ineligible for financial aid.
Yep.
So you tell me how the system is locked up. People who come from communities that are already displaced from certain opportunity, that are experiencing barriers of so many kind, decide, you know what? I'm not going to repeat this cycle. I got caught with a weed case, which when you look at everybody using weed shops on every corner all over the place, they need to just cancel all of them and start again. I'm not going to
high and drunk.
I got in trouble. I don't want to make this my way, the way I live. Right. So I'm going to make a change. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to better myself. Right.
Yep.
Now I find out another barrier. Yep. See, we do all of this talk about DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and removing barriers. But the barriers that are most impactful, those that stand between our ability to educate ourselves, which has always been the biggest place where we found the majority of our barriers. That's why we had to have people like W.E.B. Du Bois go out and start an education process for us, because we have to educate ourselves. We have to be the change that we're willing to see. They put another barrier. If you got a drug case, I don't care if it's weed and weed is legal, you ain't getting financial aid.
If it's a felony.
If it's a felony, a felony drug charge. Okay, let's make that clear.
I don't know if that's changed yet.
Okay.
But back then, you couldn't even get financial, well, not financial, but financial assistance from the government if you had a drug charge.
Wow.
They wouldn't let you get certain things.
Okay, so you are going through this process. We're talking about, because eventually we're going to talk about what you're doing to help other people. Okay. You find yourself, how many felonies?
I just got, I had two.
Well, I mean, you telling all your business. He on the right side of this thing right now.
I had two, and then I had like 3 other high misdemeanors.
Okay, so 2 felonies, 3 other high misdemeanors.
Yeah.
And so you began to investigate the process because they were saying, yo, we are now starting to deal with expungement of felony cases. Tell me what you did.
Well, this was before that. I went to Michigan Works.
Okay.
Somebody told me they was doing the expungement clinic there. This was like 5 years ago. And I just heard last year that they was expunging, doing that. What's it called? Clean slate. The
clean slate law. Yep.
Yeah. So, and they just signed that into law. So that's effective April 11th, 2023.
Okay.
So if your felony,
that was just this year.
Yeah. So if your felony is 10 years or older, then you should be checking into it. Don't just wait for them to drop it off. Go check into it. But
felonies can be expunged if there are no criminal charges pending against the individual and if the individual has not been convicted of another criminal offense during that 10-year period.
Right. Yep. And misdemeanors is 7 years.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because misdemeanors will hinder you too. So you got to get all of that stuff off. So after 7 years, misdemeanor is supposed to be clean slate now.
Okay. So how did you begin this process? Because there's fees associated with this.
Yeah.
And we've been talking, HELP has been talking about putting together an expungement clinic and working with the AG's office and different things. How did you get started in this process? Because I know that recently you just celebrated a huge victory.
Yeah. Well, getting them knocked off.
When was that? What date was that? Do you remember?
Like I said, I had like 5 of them. So it was over a period of time.
You started how long ago?
I started it like 4 or 5 years ago.
So you started 4 or 5 years ago, walking through the process. Who assists you with this process?
Michigan Works, and they had a bunch of lawyers from legal aid.
Okay.
One of them legal aid.
Probably the defender's office.
Nope, not the defender's office.
Okay.
Man, I'm sorry, I can't even think.
But they had some lawyers that were on site to assist with the process.
They had like 10 lawyers.
Okay.
In there, and you just walk through each room, and they asking you your record. You give them all your information. They pull up all your information. If you don't have certain felonies or a certain amount, then they can help you. But if you know, because you can't have like 6 or 7 felonies, you know.
Yeah, if you was wilding out, bro, we're gonna pray for you, okay? Maybe the computer have a glitch and we can get your 7 felonies down to what?
But the thing is, you might catch all them felonies at one time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's like they still figuring out.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in any kind of legal situation and know somebody who has from the community, right, from the village, you get pulled over and you may get hit with 7 charges. They always gonna throw in there resisting arrest because you turned around and looked at the sky behind you. And what they do is they throw a lot of them out there and then they get you to plea down.
That's what they did to me.
So that's what they did to you.
That's how I got my original charges, because even though it don't matter whatever if I was guilty or not, even though of these particular things,
right?
It wasn't right. So, but me not knowing the law, I was scared and I played no contest. So me thinking no contest probably be close to not guilty. So but
they both start with Ed.
I went back to my cell. I said, yeah, I played no contest. They finna send me the track. It's like, yo, you basically just played guilty.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, oh man, that hurt me for the rest of my adult life. You know what I'm saying? Like I was going to school for social work and I was passing my grades all A's, man. And I couldn't do an internship at a state facility like MDHHS,
right? Because
I had a felony. And if you can't do your internship, they fail you.
You can't. You're right.
You fail. I failed just because of that. You know what I'm saying?
So going back and looking where you are, I know we've had some conversations. Is there an interest? Do you have an interest of going back and trying to see if you can use that credit and complete that process?
Oh, I'm already in the process.
Okay.
I done started.
Well, you better testify. Tell them about the goodness.
Man, I don't care. It ain't never. That's why I tell my people it ain't never too late. So like, I don't care how old I am. If it's something that I want to do, I'm gonna do it. And that's what I want to do. That's my purpose.
So you started 5 years ago on this process from a clinic. So I need y'all to understand this, because a lot of people see expungement clinics and they'll be like, I'm not going to that because they ain't gonna be able to help me. My situation is different. And we allow fear to exclude ourselves from really receiving the help that we can get. When help is available, please take the help. All right.
I ain't have to pay a dime for that.
All right. Now tell them you didn't have to pay it. So they absorbed the cost in terms of what you were doing.
They absorbed the cost.
All right. My sister Kanika Pugh, who's over there, executive directoring over at the NABE. I know that they did an expungement clinic and they had a situation where they were absorbing those $50 fee, $100, all of those, they amount up to about $50 or so that you have to do for these things. And so we were, in planning ours, are looking to do the same thing. We're looking to make sure that there are no additional barriers that are preventing these brothers. If you ain't got a ride, call somebody. We can help you get a ride. So as we put these things together, let's think about how we have to overcome certain barriers in every population to make it happen. So as the process started going, what were the kind of things that they were asking you?
Well, basically all they do is pull your record and they check your charges. Because like if you got mad like 3 domestic violences or some stuff like that, then it's a wrap. They unforgiving on that.
Okay.
You know, and I don't know about, like sex charges and stuff like that. You just got to check into it. But certain things they not expunging.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that should be the case.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if you are touching little kids, they should make you run around in a pink suit the rest of your life. That's just my personal thought. Or you putting your hands on women, let's put a pink suit, pump control over here. And you should be used, unless you have shown some real different tendencies and you've gotten some serious help.
Now, that's one of my things. There
Go
should
ahead.
be a process for people, for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Especially people that's going through domestic situations, because relationships just get crazy. They get crazy. And if people take the time to go to therapy and go get the help that they need, man, and get to the root cause of
okay. You scared me for a second. No. I'm like, yes, relationships do get crazy.
No. I ain't talking about.
But men should never put their hands on women.
No, absolutely not.
All right.
But I'm talking about go get some help.
Yeah, you got to go get some help, because we can. It is so, honestly, you just said something that's so important, and it may seem to be off topic, but
Never. I would never stand up for a man putting his hands on his woman.
Okay, let's make that clear. But I think that it's so important because in the heat of a moment, in a heated exchange, that's why it's so important to learn to walk away. There are a lot of people out there with felonious assaults from a domestic violence situation because we allow our emotions to take us to a place where we should just walk away.
Men and women.
No, you're right. Because I know some women who beat up men. I mean, I've seen it.
For the record.
So we got to make sure that we're taking care of those things. But when you went through that process, let's talk about that process in these last couple of minutes. You had a number of felonies and some misdemeanors, a couple felonies and 3 misdemeanors. Is that correct?
Yep.
So you went through this process. They assisted you with the fees and doing the paperwork. What was your role once these things were completed? For someone who's listening and say, okay, what is it? What can I look forward to?
So one of the great keys to life is patience. It's just a waiting game after that because it was so bagged up. And then, then that COVID hit. So they couldn't do all the paperwork and do their due diligence. So they still on the backlog way from back then in 2019 and 2018. You know what I mean?
And I think it's important, but I think that we really have to push to get more bodies and more eyes on these types of things because someone's life is being held in the balance.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to get these men back to a strong standing place within their community. We're trying to get them employed. And every day that they have to wait, and every day that life is passing them by. And so we need to help them with removing the stigma with being a felon, regardless of what the issue is. So you found out, when did you find out that you had some good news to report on?
I started getting letters in the mail.
So what were the letters saying that you were getting in the mail?
Letters was for the Zoom hearings.
Okay.
So you got to have a hearing, and if you don't show up, it's a wrap. They not gonna expunge it. So you got to make sure that you check in the mail. And I don't care what it is, man. Make sure you check your mail for the letters from the courthouse, because some people just get mail and just toss it to the side.
Yeah.
That might be your expungement.
So if you start in this process, make sure that you're staying on top of this mail.
Yep.
Also, people who are doing these clinics, I hope we're hearing this. Some of these hearings are virtually. So we got to make sure that we know where we can go take this meeting. Don't be in a place where you're going to drop your internet, because this is a safety net. This is a lifeline that you're being thrown, and you have to look at it as such. So that means that you have to make sure that anything that's going to hinder you from being able to sit down and take the full advantage of this, you don't do it. Make sure people aren't talking in the background. If you got to go to a coffee shop, somewhere where they have free Wi-Fi, solid Wi-Fi, let's make sure that we're in those places.
One more thing. It don't take nothing but 5 minutes, but make sure that you prepare for when they ask you how have you changed your life, what you doing with yourself, because he's gonna ask you questions, and you got to sell yourself.
This is like going before the parole board.
Yeah, you basically, but it don't take that long. Basically, just say the right things and mean it, because I hope you're really doing the right things if you're getting a second chance. You know what I mean?
So be prepared, do your homework. What types of information are they requesting that you bring with you?
You don't have to have none.
None.
They got all that, they got. But see, I'm gonna tell you, they mess up sometimes, because I went in court and they had already expunged it out and waited 30 minutes, and he was like, "Oh, it's already done. The state just didn't send you your paper."
So when did you finally receive your papers of freedom?
July 31st
of this year. Man, I congratulate you. What did it feel like when you finally got from underneath the weight of those cases?
I don't know, man. It felt surreal, because it felt like, man, this would have been holding me back all this time. But it's too late now, because it done turned me into what I'm building, a civilized felon, which is an entrepreneur, as well as all the other things that we doing. You know what I mean? I know we ain't got that much time.
Melissa Johnson Hayes, thank you, Melissa, for putting this in. She said the courthouse has a whisper room. They have a whisper room that people can go to do their Zoom hearings if they don't have reliable phone or internet. We got to remove those barriers. Thank you so very much, Melissa, on that. All right, civilized felon, give us the 1, 2, 3 punch on that. What is it?
Civilized felon, street recovery, man. I'm a recovery coach. I help people in addiction. I help people get resources that they probably don't have, like when they come home from prison, man, because a lot of people don't have support, a lot of family, friends, and stuff like that. So I'm that advocate, that ally. I don't care what it is, from shoes to clothes to food, housing resources. I help them fill out applications. I sign them up for school, all type of stuff, man. Just whatever they need to get them going. As long as they want the help, I'm gonna be there for them.
And we've seen you do the work in the streets. Really quickly, let folks know how they can get a hold of you, Antonio.
Antonio Brooks on Facebook, Civilized Felon on Facebook. Just on all the platforms, Civilized Felon on Facebook, Antonio Brooks, all that. That's it.
All right. And for those of you who are out there, I did want to give you that for the email. It's helpsaginaw at gmail.com. You can send us a message if you have young men that are 11 and older, if you want them to be involved with what's taking place on September 30th at New Beginning Deliverance Center Ministry, 2602 East Genesee in Saginaw. I certainly want to thank you all for what you all have been doing and the attention that you have been paying to the things that matter in the village. If you're somebody who is out there, you're saying, hey, Mr. Bowen, we got something coming up. We're going to talk about a death. What do you call it? Doula. Yes, Pam, a dear friend of mine, she is out there and she has been doing the work. We have people that bring life, help to bring life in this world. We're going to have a conversation with her in the weeks to come about those who are helping, those who are sick and leaving to transition on the other side. I want to thank everybody for your time and attention. As always, thank you for tuning in to KISS 107.1 FM and making Straight Talk your #1 show in our target audience. We love you all. We bless, and hopefully you have a great evening. And as always, grace and peace.
You're listening to Straight Talk with Kareem Bowen on KISS 107.1.
You've been listening to